Okay.
Get out of here. Okay, should I just fire away then?
Just fire away.
All right. We've seen you playing police officers before. Did you come to like it?
Well, I like playing. It doesn't really matter what you play, you know. You're looking for a job, number one. You're looking for an interesting job, number two. And you're looking for a job that pays well, number three. Now, it didn't turn out to be well. That third situation wasn't part of this equation, but number one and number two parts were there, and the third part was having just a fantastic actor to work with in Gene Hackman. This was his idea, and we had agreed years before that we would like to find something interesting to do together, and so this was his idea. Mm-hmm. I thought it was fabulous. So
I said number three is if it pays well. As a producer of Under Suspicion, do you look for? I mean, do you think in terms of box office results?
As a producer, yes, you must, because that pretty much says whether you'll do it again, whether you'll be able to try again. So if we get good results box office wise, it's just like any other business, you know. Profit is what allows you to continue in business. Beyond that, that's the producer side, of course. On the actor side, it's just there is the work, you know. There are jobs that pay you well, and there are jobs that give you another type of satisfaction, and that is the satisfaction of having done good work.
I like the picture very much, but it doesn't really look like surefire box office, does it?
Well, no, but then nothing ever does, you know. You just never know what it's going to be surefire box office. Box office always depends on how your audience responds to what you've done. Sometimes things like this will just take off. They just become sort of cultish, you know. And at other times they die a mourning. So one never knows. If I could know, woof.
As a producer, did you have much influence on directing the editing?
Producers don't generally. I suppose on the studios they exercise more control than we do in independent film. In independent filmmaking, you try to get everything ready before you go before the cameras, and you put everything in the hands of the director. But then we've sat down as a team prior to that and decided on what we want. So that if the director says, I want this, 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 and this, and you agree, then you don't go in later on and say, well, I don't think that's going to work. Because, I don't know, we all have different criteria for deciding what's going to work and what isn't going to work. But the only group that can really make that decision is an audience, and that's after the fact, so, you know.
Mm-hmm. You said Gene Hackman discovered the script. Do you also develop projects? I mean, do you have agents out there maybe looking for the right stuff for you?
I have a film company. I have a company. We have a whole staff that do development. By that we mean finding projects, reading books, reading scripts, weeding them out, and you know, we glean whatever strikes our fancy. There's an awful lot being offered, so sometimes you have a lot to choose from.
Do you tell your people to find you something special? I mean, what do you look for in the script?
Well, primarily we're just looking for something that sort of falls into the guidelines of our own mission statement. That is, we're not really going to try and compete with those companies that want to do big action films. Although we do have a large budget film ahead of us, and we will do some middle budget films. Primarily, we like stuff like this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Having grown up in Chicago, I think.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No,
Your
that's
childhood
Mr.
in Chicago,
I spent a small section of my childhood in Chicago. That was between the ages of. I went there when I was 6. I was in Mississippi when I was 7, and back in Chicago 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I really spent most of my formative childhood in Mississippi. But I did spend enough time in Chicago to say I lived there. So, and your question was what?
Anyway, what I wondered about was, have you ever been in a situation such as Gene Hackman in the film? I mean, when the police is just rounding up the usual suspects, that you have to answer to the police, even if you're not guilty. Did you experience something like that?
No, I never got rounded up in such a situation. I think in Chicago I was too young to and didn't run as a matter of course. I didn't run with a gang. You have to belong to some group, but I spent as much time with books and inside as possible, I suppose, because really didn't care for it that much, and I found it safer to be.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What I found very interesting in the film is how it manipulates the audience. I mean, the audience is used to what we see. What you put on the screen is what we believe. So if Gene Hackman tells his story in different versions, I think, it's disturbing for the audience 5 minutes after you change the story. Is that the point you wanted to make?
That's the point the film makes, I think. The point of the whole, the original. I don't know if you're familiar with the original. Oh. It was originally a French film called Garde à Vue, and it was directed by Claude Miller, and he had it in a one room in the station house, very claustrophobic, so that. If I'm the police and I'm asking you questions about what you did and why you did it, and if you're really trying to shield something that has nothing to do with what I'm investigating, you're going to look just as guilty to me. And I think this is what happens. You know what I mean? He changes his story, number one, because he forgets certain parts of it, and other parts he's really trying to just keep in the background of his life, because that's where it belongs as far as he's concerned, as far as anyone's concerned, you know, where he goes on the internet, why he goes, what he does in the privacy of his own mind, you know, and that's where the police start to probe the privacy of your own mind, particularly when cases of pederasty or pedophilia or and I think anything sexual, you know.
From an actor's standpoint, it's really interesting. I think it could work as a stage piece as well. I mean, this is really stuff that actors, I could think, would grab quickly if they get it offered.
Absolutely, and you're right. It could easily translate to the stage, because what we have at the most 3 sets, but you could eliminate the house as a set. You don't have to go there at all. That was just in our flashbacks that we see that.
You leave the police station and go outside. This is when the claustrophobia thing doesn't work.
Right. Right. Well, we didn't. When we opened it up so that we didn't have the feeling of claustrophobia so much, because there was the festival going on outside, and every now and then you could hear that. And we went all the way across the plaza to the hotel, did the thing there, and wow, the way we kind of tried to get around that was in setting it on a small island, so that you know still that everybody knows everybody. Everything is still closed in. So whatever happens in your life, if the police are questioning you, the whole island knows about it. You know, it's like one of those.
I understand you're going to play Nelson Mandela in an upcoming project?
One of these days, yes.
Well, how are you going to prepare for such a part?
Oh, I'm going to spend time with Mr. Mandela. I mean, I've met him on a number of occasions already, and we've sat down and discussed that part of how I'm going to go about that. I told him what I need to do is just be able to spend some intimate time with him. And he said that'd be fine. We'll do that. You know. So as we get closer to get closer to shooting, he and I will
Well, he
orchestrate time together.
He actually asked for you.
Yes.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's great.
Well, yeah, it's quite an honor, and as you might imagine, quite a challenge. Yeah. But that's in the future, and I don't know how far down the line, because we thought we'd have done it by now, and it turns out that the book is about 700 pages, and it's not easy to reduce that down to a movie script.
Would you say it's easier to play somebody still alive, or when he's already immortalized as legend?
No, I think it's much easier to play someone who has come and gone, because you can sketch them. Audiences are amazing in their ability to fill out a sketch. It's just like a line drawing, If I just give you the impression, you would fill in all the details.
Playing the president.
Oh yes, you would ask me if I took that role because I thought it might enhance the standing of colored peoples. I don't. No, that doesn't have anything to do as such with my choice of roles. However, such consideration would come into play in a movie like Glory, and to a lesser extent a movie like Amistad. Amistad, not so much with Amistad, because for Amistad, I thought that the story lent itself to American history in such a way that all Americans would kind of come to understand a little bit more about how our government works and what the whole issue of slavery was about in terms of the law. A lot of them missed the point. And in Glory, it was again, the entire country would be able to see that our history is not complete the way it's been told, that there is much more and your history is what sort of sets up your feeling about yourself. What your great-grandparents, who they were and what they did, informs you enormously about who you are and what your life, the direction of your life. That's just the way it is. So it's not, and so the role in Deep Impact, playing the president, that's just a role that was offered me, and I took. And I think that I sort of have a reputation for blind casting. I'm able to play all kinds of roles, and nobody seems to make a big deal out of the fact that I might be colored, So this is a good thing, and I think the less we talk about it, the better, because every time you raise the issue of race, the issue of race becomes an issue,
But you like a film that educates the audience?
Absolutely, yes. I think that of all the ways that you can educate, particularly young people, the most powerful is the camera.
You have been playing parts older than your actual age, Driving with Daisy, and so on. Now that you're gaining age, do you look back on these parts and do you feel that you would do it differently now?
Nah. What's done's done. If I would go every day to dailies and just to see what we have done in rushes, yes, I would be. I don't do it because I'm never satisfied, and I can't satisfy myself. Because I can't change the way I look, the way I sound, the way and all the time you think you're doing something you're not, which works very well on stage because you don't have to see it and you don't pass judgment. The audience passes judgment, and if the judgment is good, you accept that. In film, the audience passes judgment, you pass judgment, audience says good, you say not so good, so I don't go.